In the late 1800s, all presidents seemed to be weak and ineffective, but of course this was up until Theodore Roosevelt came to presidency in 1901. The way Americans viewed the roles of president and the government changed completely. Although Teddy found his strength and mind in his family's wealth, people could comment that they were left with bits of personality stuck to their clothes before.
Theodore Roosevelt has become the new governor of New York.
Yes. I must start pushing for progressive reforms immediately.
But once Roosevelt started these reforms, the Republican leaders in the state were not found happy.
Roosevelt's reform efforts are really getting on my nerves.
Me too. I say we need to convince President McKinley to choose Roosevelt as his running mate. That way he can leave us alone and New York.
Sounds good.
This just in, the former President McKinley has been reelected. Breaking news, President McKinley has been assassinated. With President McKinley's assassination, Roosevelt had taken over and kept the country in good hands. Roosevelt rapidly got the public's attention and even got a stuffed bear named after himself. With the power of his position, he was able to start a goal he has been planning forever.
I believe in the need for change. I believe in a square deal. A square deal with the goals of keeping the wealthy and the powerful from taking advantage of small business owners and the poor. And when I say I believe in a square deal, I do not mean to give every man the best hand. If a good card does not come to any man, or if they do come, he's not got the power to play them, that is his affair. And all I mean is that there shall be no crookedness in this deal.
President Roosevelt had three main ways to achieve his goals of square deal. One of those was the control of corporations. President Roosevelt often stepped in with authority and power of the federal government. In 1902, he took a step when Pennsylvania coal miners went on strike.
We want a pay raise!
And a shorter work day.
I know they have overworked, but in order to keep factories running and families warm, there needs to be a steady supply of coal. The strike must end now.
Hello, this is President Roosevelt. You need to keep your workers under control. Maybe you should take their concerns into their consideration.
No.
You don't take any consideration, I will send federal troops to take control of those mines and have them run by federal employees.
Fine. They can have a small pay raise and a 9-hour workday.
Now that the Supreme Court has stripped away the ICC's power to oversee rail charges for shipments that have passed through more than one state, I've successfully pushed Congress to pass the Elkins Act. This act will impose fines on railroads that give special rates to favored shippers. To give the ICC strong enforcement powers, I have gotten Congress to pass the Hepburn Act. Now the government has authority to set limits of shipping costs. Not only this, but now there will be a maximum price set for ferries, bridges, tolls, and oil pipelines.
The Hepburn Act brought President Lincoln one step closer to his control of corporations' goal, and he just kept getting closer as he became known as the Trust Buster for supporting powerful corporations that did business fairly. As this was going on, Roosevelt had a second goal for Square Deal, a goal of consumer protection. This goal was highly influenced by the 1906 publication of The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. His book described filthy and unhealthy meatpacking plants, and President Roosevelt was not happy.
I cannot stand the fact that our meat is being packaged in unhealthy, revolting conditions. For this reason, we are passing the Meat Inspection Act to have federal agents inspect meat sold across state lines and meat processing plants. We are also passing the Pure Food and Drug Act to have other foods and medicine over the same control. The interstate shipment of impure foods and mislabeled food and drugs will be banned.
These regulations were a lasting result of progressives' insistence that the government take responsibility for the food safety. Along with consumer protection, the conservation of natural resources was also a big goal of his, particularly because he had a special place in his heart for the wilderness.
I believe all wild areas should be preserved and left untouched.
I'm closing off a bit over 100 million acres of forest land, but I don't agree. Some acres have valuable resources which are meant to be used.
I think forests should be protected so that trees can have time to mature into good lumber. Then the protected area should be logged for wood to build houses, and new can be replaced under protection. The object of our forest policy is not to preserve the forest because they are refugees for the wild creatures of the wilderness, but rather they are making of prosperous homes.
That's a well thought out idea. I say we do that. Now that the National Reclamation Act has been passed, the government can begin to build and manage dams that will create reservoirs, generate power, and direct water flow.